I'm a positive guy, but there are some things about life coaches that I do hate. And after 18 years in the industry, in the business, I reserve the right to have a few of these, actually. So, and I only have 6 of them. That's not bad for 18 years. So 18 years and 6 life coaches that I hate. Yes, it is. That's the whole point, Tamara. This is very interesting, but it is true. It is true. I do hate these things. I hate these coaches, and I'm going to explain to you who the 6 coaches are, and I'm also going to explain to you why I hate them. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Start with number 1. Now, I've talked about this before, usually not on a stream like this. But I'm going to share it with you now because this is one that I've hated for a long time, and I think sometimes I get a little jealous of this particular coach as well. This is the marketer in coach's clothing. The marketer in coach's clothing. So in a way, it's not even really a coach. I can't even say this is a life coach that I hate, but a lot of people look at this person or look at this organization or look at this coach like they really are a coach. And the reason is because they mask themselves as a coach. They wave the banner of a coach. They talk like a coach. They kind of act like a coach. They talk life coaching lingo. And so people just kind of figure they are coaches. But the reason they're doing all that is because they're really a marketer. They're a marketer in coach's clothing. And these guys are really tough to figure out because if I just saw them doing a video, if I just saw a blog post of theirs, if I just saw their website, I'd say that's a life coach. Clearly, that's a life coach. I mean, look what they're saying, look what they're doing, look at who they are, look at how they are operating. That's a life coach. But they are really using their marketing skills. They're using their ability to understand what people want to hear, what people want to see, what people expect from their coach, and they plaster that all over their videos. They plaster that all over their site. There's a coach that I've seen do this. She's very successful, and she does live streams, overlooking the beach and in her high rise and everything. And the whole time she does this, she's really a marketer, right? But the whole time she does this, she talks about, hey, we're serious about living in abundance, and I know you're a go-getter and you're not gonna make excuses and you're gonna go for it and make things happen. I know that who we are on here is we are all about living our dream and living our life purpose and being purpose-driven and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I'm not against any of those things, but you can see, and I've talked to her clients before, you can see that she's really not coaching anybody. She's probably a good cheerleader, if nothing else. And she plays the game, but she's not a life coach. She's a marketer. I also see a lot of our competitors in the training world, in the coach training world, they act like they do a lot of coaching. And the fact is they're just really good at marketing. I see them in my stream all the time. They have a big conference about coaching, or they have a teleseminar about it, and it's like I've seen these people's emails, I've seen what they do, I've seen what they're up to. There's a guy that called me, actually we had a call the other day, and he said, I'm making a movie about coaches, making a movie about coaching, and I said that's great, and he said, I want you to be in my movie. I was like, this is fantastic. I'd love to be in a movie about coaching. It sounds thrilling. And he said, great, that'll be $5,000 because it's pay to play. I've got 9 other coaches. You're going to be the 10th, and then we're going to make this movie, right? So, this guy is, partly, obviously, he's financing his film, but, let's be honest. He's in a for-profit marketing venture to take advantage of coaches. Nothing against him. I'm not saying he's screwing anybody. It might be a great movie for all I can tell. But that's a marketer. He was a marketer in coach's clothing. He might have taken some training as a coach. He might understand some coach lingo, but this is not a coach. This is a business person first, a marketer first. And why do I hate these guys? The problem I have is that you go on their site, they offer this really cool coaching program. Take my coaching program. And they say, you know, my coaching program, you're going to get tons of coaching from me. You're going to get these great clues to how to use the law of attraction to change your life. And it's $1,000. You know, your whole life is going to be different. $1,000 is chicken feed compared to what you're going to get from my course. You're going to learn about how to have breakthroughs in money and your relationships and your physical body and your business and blah, 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 you know, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, right? Looks really good, right? And then I buy the program. I say, okay, I'm going to put my $1,000 up because this is it. My life is going to be different today. It's going to be so much better than it was before because this coach promised me that. So I buy the program, and then I get into like a members area. You've probably seen these, right? And they say, okay, here's your coaching, and then they give you this members area full of like information. It's like they give you an ebook, they give you some audios, they give you they give you video trainings, and it's like I'm reading this book. And they're like, hey, I'm coaching you right now. I'm coaching you through this book. Or I'm listening to the audio. I'm listening to like the podcast. It's like, I'm coaching you through this podcast. I'm your coach. I'm your audio coach. Or I'm watching a really good video. It's like, hey, I'm coaching you through this video. I'm your video coach. Right? I'm like, where's the coach? Where's the coaching I'm supposed to be getting? And I search around for it. And I realized, you know, the only coach I'm going to get is once a week. There's going to be a 1-hour office hours with somebody who's not the coach that I signed up with. And there's somebody like that person hired. And I call in and then they do Q&A. And that's the extent of the coaching. Or even worse, I get on this group and there's 100 people on there and it's a lecture. You ever seen these? You know, it's like, hey, this is the coaching session. And they just talk the whole time. They teach stuff. And, you know, maybe they take comments or something like that. That's it, right? Motivated but leave with no idea how to make changes. Yeah, that's it, Tamara. That's what I'm talking about. I paid a few coaches that were cheerleaders, but left with the same problem I came to them with. Still no idea how to solve it, right? And by the way, even if they gave you some information, even if you got some information from them, they weren't coaching you. So how are you going to implement that? You know, what kind of breakthroughs are you going to need that go along with that how-to information in order to actually execute on that stuff? What if you execute and it doesn't work for you? The coach I was just mentioning just a second ago, and we're going to talk about this is another type of coach here. You know, she's like, well, if you just did what I did, it'll work. Well, I know clients of hers that have done what she did and it didn't work because they weren't her. They weren't the aerobicized, high-rise living, you know, skinny little white girl, you know. It's like, okay, you're going to do a little better with the live streams in your high-rise than a lot of your clients are. So yeah, it's like it's not exactly very personalized. So what do you want for $1,000? Well, forget about the price. This is not about the price. When someone says they're a coach and they're going to offer me a coaching program, I want a coach. I want someone to coach me. Okay? I want to actually, now that doesn't mean you have to be like my one-on-one best friend, okay? I'm not asking for that. But at least if I'm going to be in one of your groups, at least work with me, not just work with my question and answer it for everybody. At least actually have something for me that actually seems to be like coaching, where you're actually personalizing something to me, where you're actually bringing me coaching value rather than how-to value informational. Information is not coaching. I'm sorry. It's just not. Information is very valuable. But don't tell me you're going to coach me when all you're doing is teaching me information. Training is valuable. Like passing skills onto me, telling me, go do this, practice this, follow through on these assignments, take these actions, and then come back and report on your progress and all that. Like that's a training, right? That's very valuable. That can be priceless. I got new skills now. But that's not coaching. And you know what? Here's the issue. Is like maybe even you might even have this misconception at this point, but we see this so much now. We see so many of these marketers that are, acting like coaches, that are calling their programs coaching programs, that we think that's coaching. We think training is coaching. We think that reading a book is the same as having a coach. No, it's not. No, it's not. So I don't care what the price is. It's not about the $1,000 was just that was just an example of, like, usually these kind of, like, when people give you a how-to program, they're usually like under $1,000, right? It's like $100, $250, $500, stuff like that. But if they want to really get you to pay like $1,000, or it used to be $2,000, like all the big gurus, they'd be like, buy my $2,000 program. That was like the automatic price everybody paid. They couldn't call it a training program. They couldn't call it a home study course. Because home study, like, I'm not going to pay $2,000 for a home study course. Well, most people won't, right? For most information. I'm generalizing a little bit. But if you call it a coaching program, and I think I'm going to transform my whole life or my whole business because you're going to coach me, and not to say that they lie and they say, hey, I'm going to be your one-on-one coach. Most of them don't. I mean, some of them do, but most of them don't. But it's misleading, right? It's misleading. It's like, you're going to take my coaching program, but I'm really not coaching you. So then the value is gone. So, okay, Mike, so they mislead you for sure. That's bullshit. No one should ever say coaching. It was just a course with Q&A component. Yes, we'll get to the Q&A. That's my second one. So you're ahead of me, Mike. So anyway, but that's the point with this one. It's the marketer. It's like, you're not a coach, and they don't even know they really don't know. They don't have a good idea of what coaching is. They're not centered or grounded in coaching principles and the coaching process. Or they know what it is, but they're still not going to do it in the program. They're still really more of a marketer than they are a coach. I know some great marketers that are, they could be phenomenal coaches. They really understand. They hang out with coaches, like they have coaching skills, but that's not what they're up to. They're really a marketer, right? That's more of their identity, the way they operate in their business. So let's just call it what it is. It's a marketer and coach's clothing. So that would be the first life coach I hate, or the first coach that I hate. All right. And by the way, just to come back to this just for a second, look, I'm a marketer too. Like, I don't want to, like, I saw a coach today saying, there's these people talking about how they're not there to sell anything, and they're not there to make money, and they're not trying to do business with people, and acting like they're just like Jesus or something, right? Just traveling around helping people, and which is really not true. It's just a way to kind of hide the fact that you want to sell them later at some point, kind of get rid of the marketing, kind of pull people's defenses down, the criticism that people have when it's marketing radar goes up, so to speak, or sales radar goes up. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, we all got to be marketers to some extent, but are we primarily marketers? And if we are we misleading people by using coaching as a term to make people think they're going to get more than they really are? I have a problem with that. I have competitors that they get tons of business, and they like, their people come to me later on and say, I ran out of money. I can't take your program now because they paid all these other people $10,000 and they didn't give me anything. Or, you know what? You're another one of those guys, aren't you? You're another one of those guys that are going. You're gonna sell me this program, and then you're just gonna leave me hung out to dry, and you're not gonna be working with me at all. You're really not here for me, and so they miss out. A lot of times they won't work with me because they're already so jaded, right? If they get to the point where I can actually break through that kind of jadedness, or that break through that past experience that they had that was bad, and they actually take our programs, they figure out, it's like, we're going to work with you and coach you live ongoingly and support you for life. And it's a real surprise, and it's great at that point. But I mean, up until that point, it makes things hard. So, second coach that I hate, this is the Q&A coach. The Q&A coach. So I'm going to make a confession here. I have a tendency to become this coach sometimes. I do have a tendency to become this coach. I'm a big knowledge guy. Part of my archetypical kind of the archetype that I embody is the scholar. I try to be real smart about things, and I try to use knowledge as a big way to drive my success and a lot of my clients' successes as well. And I do think that when you have knowledge that your client doesn't have, as a mentor for them, you could be extremely valuable, and actually people will pay a lot more for knowledge. So I'm not saying like you shouldn't use knowledge, but the problem I have with the Q&A coach is, once again, it's like you're having a coaching session with them and you bring things up and then they just like answer it like a question. It's like, I'm really working on how to break through my fear to go ahead and talk to people and ask them to sign up for whatever, right? And they say, well, you know what you should do is talk to 10 of them and then you're going to get over the fear. All right, next question, right? Or they say, well, I understand that you're feeling fear, so the way that you need to handle that is break through that fear by doing this thing. Let me give you this solution. I'm going to email it to you, or I'm going to send it to you, or let's just like jump through these hoops, right? And at best, they're your trainer. But a lot of times they'll end up even talking about it. Like they'll say, "Oh, really? You're afraid? Well, fear is a tough thing. I used to be afraid. Let me tell you something. What I found really helps is this. And I actually worked with somebody once that was, and they end up telling you all these stories about fear. They answer a question that you didn't even really have, rather than actually saying, why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? Like, what's really at the source of that fear? Like, what do you believe that makes you afraid? Like, how do you feel when you're afraid? Like, what do you really think is behind that? Well, have you ever been afraid and taken action? Like that's a whole different experience, right? The Q&A coach just answers. They're nothing but answers. Answers, and let me tell you the answer. Let me tell you the right thing. Let me tell you what's really going on. Let me tell you what you're doing right now. Let me tell you the way it is, the way it works, the way people are. It's all knowledge. And again, I still hate this coach, and I hate it when I do this. But I do. I do have a tendency to be Dear Abby sometimes, especially in groups. Those of you in Synergy know that sometimes with a time constraint, I try to just give you the answer. And I do think there are times where that probably was the best approach. But I still hate it when that's what I do. And I hate it when I'm working with somebody that's supposed to be a coach and that's all they do is give me an answer. Because I usually need more than that if I'm really looking for a coach. So what would be a perfect offer for you? What would be a no-brainer for you? Would it have a guarantee? Just wondering, it might help me craft my offer. Really, really good. So I think that I'll tell you personally, I'm glad you asked that actually. It's interesting because I actually have been thinking about this quite a bit, Mike, over the last 12 months or so. And what I find is most valuable for me, if I'm in a program, I definitely want information, because usually if I'm going to sign up for a program, it's because I need a certain knowledge that I don't have yet. If I have the knowledge, I need a one-on-one coach maybe to hold me accountable. I want an accountability coach. And so maybe that's what you're talking about. It's like what to do, but you're not doing what you know. That's definitely my problem sometimes. And so I just need a one-on-one coach to kick my butt at that point. And I have a coach for that. But, I think a lot of people know that that's what they need. Some people, they need that, but they don't want that. They're not looking to buy that. But for me, I know it's highly valuable because I know my productivity depends on it. However, if I'm going to be in a program, something more than just signing up for one-on-one coaching with somebody, then it includes knowledge that I need for some specific output or some specific next level I need to reach, let's say in my business or my life. But on top of that, I do want somebody, even if it's in a group, that's going to hold my hand through that. I want to know that, if I'm going to, because I'm signing up for this not because I'm dabbling in it. I want to go full bore. I'm like, here's the thing I'm going to use. I know I'm going to use this. I know I want to master it. So I want to know what I need to know to master it. And then I need to have somebody critique me. I need to have somebody hold my hand through this. I need to have somebody kind of coach me through the process of gaining mastery as I fall down, as I screw up, as I make mistakes. So some of that might be Q&A, to be fair, to give me answers when I need them. But some of that a lot of times is just encouragement and motivation and correction and accountability. Those kind of things are huge. Maybe some inspiration from others that I'm masterminding with, or from you as the guru, so to speak. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That'll help me a lot. If I can get more confidence that this is the way to do it. And by the way, also some of that means just curtailing what I know I shouldn't be doing. I do a lot of stuff probably that I don't need to do. I waste a lot of time with it, and that stops me from doing things that would be more useful as well. So a coach that can actually get me past my delusions, right? So anyway, that's a couple answers to your questions. It's just as far as what the way I look at it, and like what's it for you? Like whatever it is that you're learning, whatever program you're in, whatever you're interested in doing, like from a coach, not training or how to only, what would you be looking for? Like, what do you really want to feel? What would make you feel comfortable or excited about signing up for that program? Like, hopefully it's real, right? But, assuming it is, like, what would really make it valuable for you? I'm curious. Okay. Hey, guys. Hey, Kurt. Great to have you guys on. Happy Thanksgiving. It's one of those weird nights. Getting to the root. I love getting to the root of issues so people can have results in many areas of life. Yeah, usually a lot of time, other than knowledge, I think knowledge is huge, but other than knowledge, one of the reasons I don't get a result is because there's something underneath like what I'm talking about up front. If I just ask the question and all you do is answer it, I'm probably going to miss something. And I'm not really going to transform. Like my business probably won't be really that much better. I really got to not just get a new concept or a new idea or a new possibility, but I got to break through any like hidden blocks that I might have. My coach, I hope, can help me work through those at some level. I don't necessarily always expect every program I'm in is going to be the source of that, but a coach that can do that, very, very powerful. Really turns things around for me when I have those kind of conversations with coaches. Or with a coach that is working with me at least. So this is the Q&A coach. Really hate this coach, and I hate myself when I do it sometimes. And by the way, the biggest thing that I really work on, especially with my group, is I really try to get grounded in core competencies of coaching. And like every other week or so, I practice, like with Colette Seaman, one of our top coaches on the team, we like work on those competencies. We get to like one of the 11 competencies, one of the ICF competencies, and we're just like, okay, let's go to the MCC level, let's go to the master level, and then let's take 10 minutes and coach each other using that, and then let's give each other feedback, let's score each other. How did we do? What was missing? What didn't work? Etc. And just practicing that stuff, really, it's like flexing the muscles. Like, I can go out and run and I can go do calisthenics and stuff, but you know what? If I don't do these little shrugs, I completely have no muscle here, right? The reason is because I don't do this one exercise that if I don't do it, like that part of my body is just not going to be developed at the level it could, right? So it's like I want to develop every aspect, every muscle that is really going to have me operating at full bore as a coach. And when I find I'm flexing those and I'm watching other coaches do it as well, I go back to that group where it's like usually it would have been just Q&A, and I'm not doing Q&A anymore. It's one of those, and even with like just 15 minutes with a client, it's magical what we can produce in that short period of time. It's not easy, not always still not natural for me in that context because it's a group that I'm mentoring as well. Because I have knowledge that they need as well. So it's hard to balance that. One of the nice things about being a coach for people that have expertise that you don't have, and they're not working with you for expertise, is like you're not worried about telling them anything or teaching them anything or giving them an answer because they got the answer. They're the star. And then it's like it's a no-brainer. You're definitely going to be the coach. That's an easy one for me. But when I'm also a mentor, that's when it's hard for me to balance the Q&A coach with the real coach. So anyway, that's the second coach I hate. The real problem is never the question you're asking. Yeah, exactly, Mike. Thank you for that. Like, and by the way, again, this is something where I go off the rails sometimes. Like, my client asks me a question, I'm like, great, I get to answer the question. It's so easy. Like, I could just do that all day. That's not coaching, though. Answering people's questions is not coaching. Doesn't mean you can't give answers, and we'll get to that in a second, but it's not the basis of your coaching relationship, right? So yeah, it's like I need to turn that around and ask them a question. I need to understand more about why they need to ask the question, or what outcome they have about that question. Question could be a start for that conversation, but certainly shouldn't be the end. Shouldn't be the end of that conversation. So yeah, totally perfect point, Mike. That's what I should have said. All right, so third coach that I hate, third life coach I hate, and this one's really, really annoying. I don't even hate this coach. It's just very annoying. I guess I hate him too. So anyway, this is the non-directive coach. The non-directive coach. Now, by the way, there's a lot of legitimate coaches. This is just what they do as a coach. And I think this is why I hate this coach even more, is because these other coaches, like, you can tell they're not coaches. Like, if you're a real coach and you're a credentialed coach, or you're an ICF coach basically, or you're recognized by the World Society of Coaches and what coaches accept as coaching skills, the Q&A coach is not a coach. The marketer posing as a coach is not a coach. You just know those aren't really coaches. I mean, they can call themselves coaches, but they're really not. But this coach, like, they're actually a coach, but I still hate this coach. This is not my style. I think it's a time waster. Think of the non-directive coach as like, this is why I gave you this picture. It's like Freud, and the client is like laying on the couch just talking and talking and talking and telling their story again and again and again and again and again. And the quote-unquote coach, this Freud here, is just saying, well, tell me more. Or, like, what does that mean to you? Or how do you feel about that? It's like, give me a break. It's like, I'm not saying you can't ask those questions. Fine. But it's like, you're a coach. You're not a therapist. You're not a counselor here. You're here to coach me, right? I can do some push-ups. I can get off my butt and actually do something. I can transform. You can challenge me in some areas, but Freud's not going to do that. You're the non-directive coach. And what really, really pisses me off about a lot of the dogma that comes out of the ICF world, not blaming you, ICF. I mean, we are approved by ICF, and we have a great relationship with ICF. But I think part of the problem I have, and if you talk to the directors at ICF, I'm betting they'll agree with me on the finer points, which is that, coaches that just sit there and listen, and coaches that just ask questions that don't lead anywhere, and the client's 100% responsible, the direction of that session, and the direction of that ultimately the achievement that they'll have from the coaching relationship. It takes 7 years to do something that could have been done in 7 minutes. It takes, or it never happens. Because guess what? Your client, my client, if you're my client, the breakthrough that's really in store for you when we work together, the real value in our coaching relationship, you're not gonna be the source of it, chances are. I mean, you're still the source of it because you're part of that relationship, but if you're left to your own devices, you will fail utterly to have that breakthrough, because you already have. You don't want to have that breakthrough because it's going to be painful. It's not going to be a fun process. You're going to see things you don't want to see. You're going to hear things you don't want to hear. You are going to see aspects of yourself that you don't like. And so left to your own devices, are you going to do that? No, you're not. So the non-directive coach takes no responsibility in the matter of that relationship, no responsibility in the matter of the results that team produces, and then it's just left to the client. And yes, if they got the result, they would really own the result. I agree. But they never get the result. And then here's what this non-directive coach says. This person's just not ready to change. This client, they're just not coachable. It's like, really, you might want to look in the mirror, Mr. Coach or Mrs. Coach, because you're giving no direction to that coaching relationship. Mike says, need to call hot bullshit on people's BS stories they tell themselves. Yes, thank you. It's like, if I ask you a question and you give me your story, I need to identify that that's just your story. At some point, maybe not at first, I might take some time with that, might get into what's going on there, but at some point, I need to have some powerful and direct communication. That is one of the ICF competencies, direct communication. And I need to powerfully communicate things that you may not come up with yourself at some point. So I actually did a video a long time ago called The 5 Types of Life Coaching. I'm going to pop this in the chat on Facebook in case you want to check it out later. Don't do it now. I won't get in a lot of explanation, but you'll see the comments. You'll see the comments on here, and there's a comment that was on that video, and the video basically takes you through like different models of coaching, different types of coaches, like friend type of coaching, drill sergeant type of coaching, like where you're really just being a powerful leader for somebody, like the guru model of coaching, the strategist model of coaching. These are just different ways that coaches actually produce results with clients. There's no doubt. And we see coaches like in each of these different styles and different models. So somebody commented on there and they said, you know what, I pretty much disagree with everything you're saying. And I'll just read the comment. I have it here written here. So here it is. When one takes ownership of their ideas and uses their innate wisdom, experience, knowledge, talents, strengths, gifts, etc., it's very different than when you act because someone is telling you what to do, how to do it, etc. I can't disagree with that. Okay? That's a fair understanding. Yes. But you know what? Without your direction as the coach sometimes, if you're only non-directive, your client sometimes just won't take ownership without some prodding, without some direction on your part. So that in a perfect world, yeah, I get it. Don't ever give direction, but that's not going to happen for half your clients. Probably more than half, depending on who your clients are. You probably, maybe if you just want to work with like the highest level CEO clients, okay, but for a lot of clients, like, does that mean the people who have very little direction in their life or don't have any goals or really just depressed or stuck? Like, we wouldn't coach them. Like, we couldn't coach them because they're just not coachable. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense that that's the only model that you can come from. It's a great idealistic view. Okay, so she goes on, though. She goes on. Having said this, once in a while, a coach may nudge the client, but you can only nudge them if they are really stuck with the client's permission, right? So you got to have their permission. You can only nudge them. You can imagine, this is basically like it's just more non-directive coaching. It's like, do I have permission to nudge you? Are you kidding me? It's like half the people in the world would never get a result from a coach who that's all they can do. So, okay, and she gives a quote, like, here's how you should do it. So I have a thought here. May I share it with you? You got to ask permission to share your thoughts, evidently, if you're a coach. Do you imagine an N coach or an NFL coach asking permission from his or her team to share thoughts with them? Are you kidding me? And you're going to tell me they're not a coach, right? Life coaching has been around for like 20, 30 years, but, sports coaching, that's only been around 100 and something years or, 500 years. So they don't get to define coaching. Like, we're the ones that get to define coaching, who we've been around like a blink of an eye in the history of coaching. Who are you kidding? How dare you? How you can't believe the hubris in that attitude. It's just retarded. It's ridiculous. It is a disservice to the coaching world to expect that is all you get to do. What complete hogwash. Okay, so there's more that I need to say about this, which is this. The reason I have this picture here is that, unfortunately, a lot of coaches decided that therapy and counseling is what informs on what is good coaching. What I mean is, there are a lot of therapists and counselors that became coaches when the coaching industry first started up, and a lot of them are still doing that. And really what they're doing, they're not really coaching, they're doing therapy, they're doing counseling, they're doing therapy and counseling style coaching, basically. And they're tremendously ineffective at times. Not all the time, but at times. With like half the kind of clients that you are going to end up bumping into. And unfortunately, a big part of the coaching world has decided that the therapeutic non-directive model, the Freudian approach to things, is what coaching actually is based in. And no, it's not. It's not what it's based in. Like, there's a lot of coaching that has no basis in this, or is not informed by the psychological or the therapeutic or the counselor model, the non-directive model. It's just not. So whereas we have stolen some things from this world, and you can utilize some aspects from that world, don't tell me that this is the only thing you can do as a coach, and don't tell me that that's the most effective thing, because you are ineffective as a coach for a lot of your clients then. And let's just not make excuses that that's all you can do, and that's the only way your client can get a breakthrough is by you just sitting back and letting them figure it out themselves. That is just not cool, and that's why I hate that. So, all right, so she actually continues with her diatribe here, because I actually mentioned that one of the models of coaching is consulting, is where you actually offer knowledge to people. And again, Q&A coach, I hate that coach. So I'm not saying that is the end-all be-all, but it is one of the approaches that actually can support a great coaching relationship. And she says, consulting is not coaching. In the pure coaching process, a coach does not give advice. You just don't give advice. That's just the rule. Really. You could imagine what Tiger Woods' coach thinks about that. So what, are they not a coach now because they gave him advice on his swing? I mean, who do you think you are saying this? Really? Where did you get that from? A coach's role, let's see. Yeah, okay, so coach does not give advice. They don't tell people what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. So don't ever work with somebody that needs expertise or knowledge. Don't ever work with somebody that can't find the knowledge anywhere else but from the coach. It's like, and by the way, it's like, really, if you have the knowledge and your client doesn't, you're gonna not tell them what it is. You're not gonna give that. You're gonna hold that back. You're gonna hide it from them. You're going to force them to go figure it out for themselves. You're going to force them to go Google it. That's what you're going to do? And that makes you a better coach? Really? Look, I understand the reason why you don't tell your client what to do all the time is because, yes, they can empower themselves. They can figure a lot of it out for themselves. And a lot of the inner answers, the inner strategies, we need to figure it out for themselves, because I can't be inside of you necessarily the whole time. It may not be ecological for me to do that. But in terms of outer game strategies, can we just give them the answer and move on? That doesn't need to be the subject of the coaching session. Coach's role is to support their client in finding their way to their own answers. Fine. Why not support them in their own answers by giving them some possible answers to choose from? It doesn't mean you're forcing them. When you say you tell them what to do, it doesn't mean you're forcing them. They have free will. Who are you kidding? You seriously think that if I tell you what to do, that you can't just say, I'm not going to do that? Come on. Everyone has free will. And assuming that you cannot do that, and the reason why you cannot do that is because they have to find their way to their own answers, assumes that they're your slave, or they're your prisoner, or they somehow worship you. That's just not the case. Usually, at least. And if it is, you can be sensitive to that, chances are. Finding their own answers, the answers that lie within them. A lot of answers don't lie within your client. This is really key to coaching, and I won't elaborate here, but very powerful for the client. Yeah, it's very powerful for them to come up with their own answers. Don't disagree with that. But being just like using it as an excuse to never give any direction, I really hate that, because it just robs the client of faster results, of finding their own answers in a more efficient and effective way than just leaving them to kind of get lost in the conversation and get lost in their own story or their own limitations or their own ignorance or whatever that is. Just the case. All right. So, we're on number 3. Okay, so this is the 4th life coach I hate. And we've been talking about this coach for quite a while at this point. The Dogma Coach. The Dogma Coach. The Dogma Coach takes the core competencies that ICF gives and decides that those are not just places to be grounded in or skills to generate. They're not competencies, they're rules. They thought that the 11 core coaching competencies that ICF created were really the 11 coaching rules. Funny, I didn't see that in the competencies anywhere from ICF. And you know what? I talked to the assistant director of ICF, and I asked him if there are any rules, and he said, no, there's no rules other than the standards and ethics, which is like 1 out of the 11 competencies. So that's why I really hate this coach, is they misconstrue the spaces to be grounded in as a coach, the concepts to embrace as a coach that we want to embrace, right? That we want to embody as coaches, and they look at them like they're all rules about what to do and what not to do. Like, you can't tell people the answer. Never do that. You can't give direction. Never do that. You can't be an inspiration for your client. Never do that. You know, it's like, really? I didn't read that anywhere, and we teach these competencies. We're approved by ICF to teach those competencies. Doesn't seem to be what anything around. And by the way, our trainer, Alan Myers, I've talked to Alan about this, and he agrees on this one. And he's got a higher credential than I do from ICF, and he agrees on the same basis, which is that these aren't rules, these are just places to stand. And also, yes, you want to really get grounded in those things and not just get caught up in other elements that are going to rob your client of the greatest value that coaching can provide them. So this same gal on that same video commented again. She said, I don't think of myself as the leader. I facilitate a process in partnership with my client. So you can't be a leader as a coach, I guess. It's just like, that's the dogma I'm talking about. I see this again and again. I mean, you'd be amazed on how often I'm chastised by some coach who's like the know-it-all, and it's like, this is what coaching is and this is what it's not, and I'm the arbiter of the definition of coaching. It's like, who placed that? Who made you the marshal of all coaching, right? Because I didn't see that title anywhere. Not to mention, by the way, I mean, even ICF, even the major institutions of coaching, they're not the arbiters of it either. Have they set standards for the industry? Yes, I'm grateful for them for doing that. I'm grateful to them for doing that. But once again, it's like, I'm not going to say that if you're a voice coach helping people with their voices, or you are a basketball coach or Olympic coach helping somebody win the gold medal, that's not coaching, and that breaks the rules, because I think they actually have a little bit more history around coaching than I do. So I can't just redefine things just by saying this must be a rule. And really, the wise coaches that I know, they don't do that anyway. They wrote, unless it's a misconception on my part. So the Dogma Coach, who's stuck on very stringent and strict rules on what they have to do and how it has to be and who they have to show up as for their client, you're just constraining your flexibility, and you're not going to be very powerful as a coach for a lot of clients that you could be working with. So that's number 4. That was a short one. Okay, so here's the fifth, second to last one, 5th coach I hate, the judge, jury, and executioner. Judge, jury, and executioner. Now this coach, they actually take the Dogma Coach to another level because they place all these rules and judge their clients with these rules as well. They say you can't do this, you should do this, this is what it must be, you need to do this is what's necessary. They place all they just judge their client massively. And there's not a lot of coaches that I see do this, but I do see some coaches, some of the most confident coaches, they're like, you should do this, and this is the way it is, and you're not at this level yet, and you have to be this way, and it's like it's all judgment. And I mean, what a great way to lose influence with your client. It's like to chastise your client with such judgment that they have no freedom to be around you. They have to try to mold themselves into your form of what you expect from them. That's really lousy. That's an abomination to coaching, in my opinion. Can it work? I suppose it can. There's probably isolated cases where this kind of coach can actually make results happen. But I really hate this coach because it really, there's so many people that are probably hurt more than they're helped by that coach. And it's a stifling and suffocating, it's a repressed, it's repressive. And it's like, I want coaching to set me free. I want coaching to take the barriers away. I want coaching to blow the ceiling off of, or the lid off of what's possible in my life and my business. I don't want it to put more boxes around me. What's valuable about this kind of coach? Maybe to some extent they're really good at placing limitations. Limitations actually can create even more freedom sometimes. If I want to drink a soda or drink water, or drink juice, to get the juice, I have to have these limitations called the cup or the glass, right? To hold that juice, to encapsulate that juice. If I want the juice of life, I need some limitations so I can drink the juice of life, or get the juice out of my business, right? And by the way, I actually have clients where I've needed to do this because they're so free-spirited that they can't get the juice from their business, let's say. Business is a really good example of this one, because they're just like, I don't want anything that's going to hurt my soul, and I just want to do whatever I want to do, and it's like, I'm going to be a millionaire anyway. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. Or I never say that, but it's like, wait a second here. I think that you're actually losing control of your business, and you're missing a lot of important aspects of business that as a consultant and a mentor I can offer you, and as a coach some people would judge that I shouldn't do that, but I think the judge, jury, and executioner actually has some value to add there. But generally I hate this coach. All right, so final coach I hate, number 6, we made it, or you made it. Hopefully we both made it. In this coach, sixth life coach I hate is the why can't you be like me coach. Now there's some real gurus out there that like this could actually work for them, but for the most part, what I really hate, and I see coaches do this sometimes. This is the one I'm least likely to do. I do go into the why can't you be more like me every once in a while, but usually it's a last resort type of thing, and it's usually very temporary. The why can't you be more like me coach? What they do is they compare their client with them all the time. They're like, you know what? I was where you were one day, and this is what I did, and this is my plan, and this is what I'm about, and you can do that too. We see this a lot of time in the author world. It's like, how I accomplished what you want, how I got what you want, and how you can do it too. And then the book ends up being like, why don't you just be like me? These are my rules. These are my precepts. These are the things that I'm up to, right? It's like that thing. And it's just, again, it's kind of a repressive thing. It's like, it's a great way for your client to have low self-esteem. It's like, I have to be like you in order to be successful. I have to be like you to have my relationship work. It's like, that could have some value to actually show them how, how what you did actually worked for you. I'm not against that. But if that's your number one approach, I see coaches that do this, people really are upset by it in my experience, especially creative types, which is like half society. People that are intuitive and creative and really like kind of come from within, They have an internal frame of reference for kind of how life and business is going to go. And then I'm supposed to give you my external frame about me and what I do and how you need to do what I do and everything. It's like people are just, they get repressed, depressed, and they get, it's soul crushing. That's what's soul crushing for clients. And when I see a client that's been with a coach like that, I mean, they come to me in like tears, basically. They're like, I can't survive talking to that coach one more moment. I need somebody who's actually going to accept me for me. I need somebody who's going to listen to me. I need somebody who's going to understand me. This is not, like, I'm not in coaching just so I can listen to somebody else talk about themselves and how great they are. It's like, this is like the ego coach, basically. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes in the coaching industry, I think, because as coaches we have this profound privilege to contribute to people and know that we are actually part of the source for their transformation. They're the source for, not like we caused it, but we're causing the matter of them being at their own source, right? They cause their own transformation, and we can support them in that. As my friend here, who I was arguing with on chat, was talking about. It's like that. It's a beautiful thing, and to just upend that and say, it's like, this is all about I'm better than you and you need to be more like me and you're wrong and I'm right. It just kills your client. It kills your client. I don't think I've ever done this in a relationship. Maybe I've done it in a coaching relationship. I might have done it very temporarily just to give somebody a certain, literally give them a piece of advice, but again, advice is like the least value you generally give in coaching. And that's why I say it's like, I don't want to be the Q&A coach. Like I said, I hate that coach. And also, I don't want that to be the most valuable thing I gave, which is just advice. I want to give my support. I want to give my facilitation, my best questions. I want to give the friendship and the appreciation and the cheerleading. I want to give. I want to light the way on the path that my client can see by themselves generally. And yes, I can give them some answers, but I'm not going to be sitting there saying, why can't you just be like me? Why can't you just be perfect, like me, perfect in every way? It's like, I just don't want to do that. So yes, there probably have been moments where I've offered people personal experiences to help them get a sense of what was possible. Maybe share some things that would hopefully inspire them, or give them a sense of the contrast between kind of where they were and where I was, so they could see some opportunities for growth for them, but very temporarily. And then after that, really then just giving it back to them and saying, look, you got some great things going for you. These are awesome. And now what do you see that you could gather from the different things that we just talked about? And you know what? If you want to try it on, great. But if it doesn't fit for you, that's great too. Because I totally honor and respect that this is your life, your business, your direction, and I'm here to just be your head cheerleader no matter what choice you make. And that is the opposite of why can't you be more like me. So I've never had a coaching relationship where this is where I settled for that as the end all be all. But I personally know coaches who this is like their model, and they leave behind them a trail of tears, a trail of failures, a trail of upset, a trail of anger in their clients, and then I got to clean up the mess a lot of times. So I really hate this, not because I hate the coach, but I hate the coaching that comes from this as a basis for the coaching relationship. Hope that makes sense. So those are the 6 coaches. Where's my title? Here it is. Here's the 6 life coaches that I hate. If you missed part of it, I'm sure the replay will be posted any moment now. And if you think that any of these I'm off base on, or I'm full of it on, or I shouldn't hate that coach, or I shouldn't be ranting about this, or by the way, if I missed a coach, if there's a coach that you hate that I missed out of these 6, then pop them in the chat. Let me know what kind of coach I missed, and let's chat it up there. That said, if if you thought that this kind of rant was something that brought up some interesting points for you or that was valuable for you, then check this one out. I just popped it in the Facebook chat. On YouTube, I'll put it in later. This is a different kind of rant that I talked about, where I talked about different approaches that I see coaches take that are really immature, and I call it "You might be a coach baby if," like how not to be a life coach. So check that out if this one seemed to make a difference or you thought it was interesting for you. That said, most of these live streams are going to be happening only on, first of all, YouTube. So if you've got the link on Facebook, you can subscribe. That's my subscribe link to my YouTube channel, where I'm also broadcasting this. But in addition to that, if you are on Facebook, I'm only going to be eventually doing these streams on my Become a Life Coach Facebook group, which I just popped into the chat as well. YouTube, you'll get those later. And I will talk to you next time. Happy Thanksgiving. If you're watching this after Thanksgiving, then just ignore what I just said. And so no junk food for me or you if that's the case. Take care.